Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I'm doing a Summerween reading vlog. So Summerween is a readathon that happens in the summer. It's hosted by Gabby Reads. I will leave her details down below in case you haven't already discovered her channel. But essentially there is reading prompts and Instagram prompts for a week, which is Summerween. And essentially the idea is to bring the spooky season into the summer season. So I'm going to start this video off with telling you the prompts and what I plan to be reading in this week-long readathon. So the first reading prompt is read a book in the dark. So that's an easy one that you can complete with any type of book, or maybe doubling up on some prompts already. So then the next one is to read a thriller or a horror book, which is super easy. We can all do that. And you can also pair that with the first prompt. Then the third prompt is to read a book with a night sky on the cover. The fourth prompt is to read a book with a 5-word title. And the fifth prompt is to read a book that takes place in the summer. So for this, I have chosen 3 books. The first book that I've chosen is The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories. This is by Tim Burton, so this is just a short collection of stories showing the painful existence of being a teenager. And there are some really cute drawings in this, so super intrigued to read this one. And this is for the night sky prompt. So yeah, perfect chance to read this one. Then we have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. For me, this one is a thriller book, so I'm reading it for the prompt to read a thriller or horror book. This one I do believe is also set during the summer, so it might also fill prompt number 5 to read a book set in the summer. And I'm just so intrigued. This is also a book that I mentioned in my summer TBR. So it's good to get to this one really early on in the summer season. And the last book that I will be reading for this is The Slasher Witch at the Water Park. So this one is a 5-word title, and it also is set in the summertime as well. So again, this one could fill 2 prompts if the other book doesn't fill that prompt. So these are the 3 books that I've chosen to read for this video and to fulfill the prompts. I'm really looking forward to all of them. Super intrigued, and I cannot wait to tell you about those. Part in this, the story of Robot Boy. The illustration, so cute, but there's a section at the end of this story. Mrs. Smith hated her husband, and he hated his wife. He never forgave her unholy alliance, a sexual encounter with a kitchen appliance. That just tickled me. Really funny. But it's so cute. So I have now just finished The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy by Tim Burton, and this was incredible. This is a collection of poetry. It's dark, macabre style work. Obviously, Tim Burton is known for his dark humour set around this adolescent age bracket. And this book is full of short little stories centered around the struggles of adolescence and being like an outcast, made from different materials. And it's an interesting book to read. All of the illustrations are so cute. I did show a couple of them throughout when I was reading it, but it's just so cute and such a fun book to read. It is the perfect book if you really love Tim Burton's fantastical illustrated animations. Then this book has a lot of his little cute style drawings, and obviously the storyline is centered around being different and death. There's a lot of death in this one, like the death of Oyster Boy. That one was really dark, and obviously that's the point. These are twisted stories. Some of these stories are really short, so they're only like a page, maybe half a page, with the illustration as well. So it's really quick to read, and it starts off cute and childlike, and then it dives deep into darkness and brutality. So probably not the best stories to be reading to children. But there is one in here that really stood out to me. It was a really good story, and it's Mummy Boy. So that's the little illustration. So he is just a bundle of gauze, not a bundle of joy when he's born. And so he's like going through life, being an outsider, not treated all that well. And well, this is a bit of a longer story, but essentially when it gets to near the end, the mummy boy took his dog for a walk in the park and stumbles upon a birthday party, and they noticed that he looked like paper mache. And the little section here says, "Look, it's a piñata," said one of the boys. "Let's crack it wide open and get the candy and toys." He took a baseball bat and whacked his head open. Mummy boy fell to the ground. He finally was dead. Inside his head were no candy or prizes, just a few stray beetles of various sizes. And I was like, wow, that got so dark. And yeah, it's like people not realizing like this person is a person, ignoring the fact that they're different and thinking that they can just take advantage and kill Mummy Boy because they thought he was a piñata. And I was like, wow, like that's such a way to look at how society views people who don't really fit into the crowd. And it's like mob mentality. We have a tendency to follow the crowd like sheep. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff in this book, well, in these short little poems, that kind of leads towards that, and how the different people get left to the side. And it's kind of sad in a way because we probably all once in our lives kind of relate to being an outsider when we were growing up because we were different. And this book is full of those types of stories and darkness. And so if you're into the macabre, the dark, twisty stories that make it seem like it's all fun and rainbows, but really it's skulls and death. So this book really does conjure up all of that nature. So yes, this book is incredible. I highly suggest picking a copy up if you can. The illustrations are really cute and the stories are really short and they do pack a punch. So do read this one. This one was quite fun and it's super quick. Like I read this literally in one sitting. I just couldn't stop reading. It is only 115 odd pages, so super doable and perfect for a readathon. So I read this for a night sky on the cover and read a book in the dark. It doesn't get dark in Scotland until like 11 p.m. So I kind of made my room darker, closed the blinds, and kind of read with the light instead, because I couldn't read that late anyway. So this is the best that I could do for that prompt. But yes, I love this. So I think the next book that I'm going to start will be The Woman in Cabin 10. But I will check back in with you tomorrow when I start day 2. So I'm not sure I'm much of a fan of this book. The writing in the first half was kind of boring. I didn't really enjoy it. But the second half really pulled the book together, and I was more intrigued by what was happening. So essentially we're following a woman who gets invited onto a ship on its maiden voyage to kind of write about the experience, because she is a journalist. So she is invited onto the ship to experience what they have on board, and she decides to tell people on the ship that she's worried about this woman that she noticed in the cabin 10 who is now gone. So nobody believes her. She is kind of dismissed for drinking too much. She kind of makes it her mission to figure this out, who this woman is that she saw. This is like a trap thriller where something happens, the woman goes missing, and somebody on board has to know or is involved in this because they are in the middle of the ocean, so the person can't really disappear. So it's kind of cool in that sense, where it's everybody is stuck on the one ship with either a murderer or someone who is involved in a crime. And yeah, it's kind of interesting, but it does drag slightly in the first half. We kind of get a bit of backstory to Laura, our main character, who discovers the woman in cabin 10. And the development of her story is kind of bizarre. So I think this was written during the time where the female protagonist wasn't very reliable. So anything she said was kind of dismissed because she's drinking too much, she's on pills, blah blah blah, she's unhinged sort of time, where we saw a lot of thrillers taking that trope and running with it. And for me, I don't really enjoy that narrative. I just don't really get that idea. I don't like having the woman portrayed as hysterical and not trustworthy. So that's a part of the book I didn't really enjoy. And I guess up until maybe like part 6 or 7, it was a bit of a drag. I was persevering, I was reading it, because it is a super quick book to read. Yeah, it was a bit of a drag, but I persevered, read it, and the last bit of the book was much better. I guess I liked the ending, but I'm not entirely sure. It was kind of an interesting take, but also it wasn't surprising. And I feel like a thriller needs to thrill you the entire time. You have to be constantly second guessing what's happening and try and figure out the plot, and then also get shocked when that plot twist happens. And I don't think I had that with this book. It fell pretty flat in that sense, but it was still a fun read. I would recommend it, I guess, if you're looking for something a little bit lighter to read, something quick to get through. it was a decent enough book in that sense, but it doesn't stand out as one of the best thrillers I've ever read because it did fall flat slightly with the plot twist and the overall ending. But it was a fun book to read, and it is my first Ruth Ware book. So I'm intrigued to see what else she can do if it's better than this. But we shall see. So that is The Woman in Cabin 10. And so I guess for this vlog, I have now finished 2 books. The next one I am going to be reading is Slasher Witch at the Water Park. So that's like a fun horror slasher book that I'm really looking forward to delving into. And so yeah, I think that will be my next check-in. Excuse the fact that I don't have my microphone plugged in right now because I am quickly just jumping in to tell you about Slasher Witch at the Water Park. I finished this last night, and because I'm off on a work trip for the next 3 days, I have packed my microphones away because I will be having to use those during that trip. But yeah, I managed to finish this before heading out. And yeah, this was such a fun time. It's not too serious. This book doesn't have like a serious plot line. It's a fun slasher story. And I kind of went in knowing that, so I got what I was expecting. The book is such a fun time. Basically, we're following a family who go to a water park with obviously everybody else during the summertime. And there is a bog witch who is kind of summoned. And once she gets asked to leave, chaos hits the fan and people start dying. So this was such a fun time, lots of brutality. The dialogue in this is quite funny, but overall it is a fun book to read. It does give summer vibes, so I'm glad that I picked this one up. It's not going to be like a book that I recommend to everybody, because it doesn't take itself seriously. The plot is pretty standard, but in the book it also does mention the fact that this is supposed to be a fun book to read and it's not supposed to be taken too seriously. So if you're looking for a serious book, this one is not it. But this was such a fun time. I enjoyed reading this over the last 2 days, and yeah, it was such a fun time. It really does give summer vibes, like I said. But other than that, there's not much more to say without spoiling anything. But if you're wanting a fun book that is lighthearted with lots of slashing in it, set in the summer around a water park, then I think that this might be the one for you. And so with that, my next book I'm picking up and taking with me on my work trip is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Grimm Jones. This one was a pre-order that came in, and I am so happy to be able to read it, and hopefully I get a little bit of the way through on my trip. I will probably only be able to read it on the train journey down to England and maybe in a couple of my spare time moments, but I'm not hopeful that I will finish it before the end of SUMMERWEEN, but I am hopeful. We're going to try, and yeah, I will check in with you when I have some updates and what I'm thinking about the book. And yeah, I hope you are enjoying SUMMERWEEN yourself. Let me know in the comments what you've been reading so far. I would love to know, and I guess I will catch you in the next clip.